Vauxhall is hoping to increase its presence in the compact estate sector with this 8th generation Astra Sports Tourer. SUVs and MPVs might offer more interesting options for family buyers, but the solid practical virtues of a good estate are not to be underestimated. This one's cleaner, more frugal, more practical, higher tech and sharper to look at than ever before. It's a better package all round, aided by French-derived underpinnings which also bring the option of electrification. It's refreshing to find when you set off down the road in this Vauxhall that this Astra Sports Tourer feels significantly different to the Peugeot 308 SW it's almost entirely based upon. We were hoping it might, and had quite high expectations for just how good this 8th generation model might be to drive, given that its predecessor was severely underrated in this regard. Now true, there's not the rewarding depth of handling prowess that you get in this class in a Ford Focus or Seat Leon estate, but we reckon this Astra still qualifies as best of the rest if you like your driving, mating the fluid gait that you get with its Peugeot cousin with a slightly sharper feel. That's partly down to a bit more steering feedback and partly down to fractionally firmer damping, though this Vauxhall rumbles a little over porous surfaces as a result. It doesn't feel as troubled by them as the old model did though, partly because of the 14% improvement in torsional stiffness this time round. As for powertrains, well, prior to the launch of this 8th generation design, we'd never had an Astra with Stellantis Group Peugeot and Citroën derived engines. We have now. This change, necessitated by the switch to this Mark III model's EMP2 platform, doesn't bring any particular advantages in performance or economy over the previous General Motors units, but it does at least allow this model line to offer an electrified option. Most of the engines are of the conventional kind though. At the time of this test in autumn 2023, Stellantis hadn't yet bothered with the mild hybrid tech that you'll find on competing Ford, Mazda and VW Group models, which meant that as we filmed, most Astra Sports Tourers were still being sold with a 3-cylinder 1.2 litre petrol turbo unit. There are 110 and 130 PS options. Whatever your choice, it'll come with a 6-speed manual gearbox with an automatic auto an option on the 130 PS model. This Astra's electrified engine technology comes in the form of the plug-in hybrid PHEV tech that we're trying here, mating a 4-cylinder 1.6 litre petrol turbo unit with a 110 PS motor embedded in the 8-speed auto gearbox. There's a choice of 2 versions of this plug-in hybrid powertrain, one with a combined output of 180 PS, the other fitted to the sportier GSE variants with 225 PS. Those GSE models feature sharper steering and firmer lowered suspension. Either way, expect an EA/ER rated all-electric driving range of around 42 miles. Your other option is the full EV Astra Sports Tourer Electric, which has a 154 horsepower motor powered by a 400 watt 54 kilowatt hour battery with a driving range of around 250 miles. The Stellantis generation Astra is without doubt a sharper looking thing, and it makes an assertive car park statement in this sports tourer form. Now this isn't one of those compact estates that's hardly any larger than the family hatch it's based upon. Measuring in at 4,642 millimeters long, this Astra Sports Tourer is a full 268 millimeters longer than the hatch model, though it's 60 millimeters shorter than the previous generation version thanks to the short front overhangs. From the front, this is an Astra dynamic as never before, with sheer taut surfaces detoxed of superfluous elements, and proudly sporting the brand's most notable current styling feature, the so-called Vauxhall visor, this narrow black grille plate that flows across into equally narrow, ultra-slim LED headlamps. The rear is perhaps this sports tourer model's most visually challenging perspective point, but this subtle roof spoiler looks smart. Let's take a seat at the wheel and see if Vauxhall and its German Opel partner brand have done an equally successful job of giving this rejuvenated Astra Sports Tourer its own identity inside. Here, the job of differentiation was much more difficult. Vauxhall calls this front-of-cabin experience a leap forward in time, and whatever your view on this rather slab-sided Pure Panel Pro twin screen layout, it's difficult to disagree. As well as analogue dials being dispensed with, there's no conventional hooded instrument binnacle, and on the automatic model, no recognisable gear stick either. You're going to need to be a fan of shiny, dark piano black plastic to like the futuristic cabin vibe, and we're not completely convinced by some elements of material quality, but it's all been very well screwed together by the German Rüsselsheim factory, and the dual 10-inch displays do a pretty good job of telling you what you need to know. The instrument screen configurable via the end of this left-hand indicator stalk. You sit lower down than in the previous generation model, and we particularly like the seats. Above base trim, the driver's chair posture has been designed for certification approval from the German Aktion Gesunder Rücken EV organisation, who campaign across Europe for aids to healthier backs. There's plenty of cabin storage too, though the main compartments between the seats are concealed by rubberized sliding covers which easily mark up. Right, time to take a look in the rear. Because the wheelbase of this Sports Tourer model is 57mm longer than the hatch it's based upon, you'd expect a little more legroom in the back. But once inside, the extra wheelbase length isn't very evident, though there's certainly a little more space for your knees than you get in a comparably engineered Peugeot 308 SW. It still feels a touch more cramped than the class norm though. The increase in body width this time round makes it a fraction easier to take a third central passenger should the need arise, but as with most cars in this class, it'd be a bit of a squash. As you'd expect, a central armrest with integrated cup holders is provided, plus you get overhead reading lights and a central USB-C port with vents above and a cubby below. Right, let's finish with a look in the boot, accessed via a loading height of 600mm. Once the manual tailgate is raised, up to 608 litres of useful storage space is revealed, with the rear seats upright like this. It's 548 litres for this plug-in hybrid model, or for the full electric version. Once everything's retracted, you'll get a cargo floor that's completely flat, offering up to 1,636 litres in the conventional models, or up to 1,574 litres in this plug-in hybrid version, or in the full electric model. Efficiency is about 5% down on the comparable lighter Astra hatch. Think 50.4 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 125 grams per kilometre of CO2 for both versions of the 1.2 litre turbo petrol engine with manual transmission. It's 49.6 miles to the gallon and 128 grams per kilometre of CO2 for the 1.2 litre turbo 130 PS auto. Combustion engines, though, are soon to be no more in Vauxhall's. The brand will sell only EVs from 2028. For the time being, though, the Astra's electrification is varied. Your first option lies with the PHEV tech we're trying here. Opt for either of the two plug-in hybrid drivetrains, and, as we mentioned in our driving experience section, up to 42 miles of EA/ER rated battery running is claimed, while CO2 is rated at 23 grams per kilometre. From a household plug, both PHEV versions will be replenished in just over 7 hours. You'll find a 3.7 kilowatt single-phase charging supported as standard, which means that recharges will take 3 hours and 50 minutes. A 7.4 kilowatt onboard charger is available as an option, and plugged into a wall box, the battery will take 1 hour and 50 minutes to be topped up. Of course, you'll need to allow longer to charge if you choose the full EV versions of this car, the Astra Sports Tourer Electric. This has a 400-volt battery with 50 kilowatt-hours of usable capacity, 54 kilowatt-hours gross, and should go around 250 miles between charges. With all the other options facing family car buyers in the modern marketplace, the compact estate car is sometimes overlooked. Admittedly, it's not the most exciting option next to the plethora of tough-looking compact SUVs and MPVs with their elaborate seating arrangements, but it is reassuringly simple in what it offers and surprisingly practical too. Vauxhall's revitalised Astra Sports Tourer seems to fit the bill very nicely in this regard. especially in this latest 8th generation form with its extra efficiency, greater connectivity and sharper looks. If you're in the market for a car of this kind, it should be on your shopping list.